What, we some kind of Suicide Squad?
I am Iron Man.
You are a toy!
I live my life a quarter mile at a time.
Server Anakin! I have the high ground!
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
I'm simply saying that life, finds a way.
Welcome back to the Big Movie Boys podcast, the only podcast that holds itself to the highest standards of moral integrity. I'm your host, Jeremy Bauman, and with me as always is Ben Stitch.
How's it going, boys? How you guys doing?
And Bob Liebel.
What's up, Big Movie Boys and girls? How are you guys feeling today? A little tense, a little nervous?
I am cautiously optimistic and nervous.
Ben, what about you?
I'm way more nervous. We're working around it because it's about the Bills game for us, and I'm very nervous, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, the reason I asked the question for the listeners at home, it is Saturday, day of recording, and the Bills play in prime time, 8 o'clock tonight, against the Baltimore Ravens. And if we seem a little anxious or a little on edge, that's the reason. I've been thinking about this for an entire week. I went to bed at like 3 o'clock in the morning, woke up 4 hours later because I was so excited and nervous, and it's just, it's weighing heavy on our hearts today. So if you sense that in the podcast today, that is why.
Yeah, I don't even know what to do. I mean, it's noon right now. I don't know what to do for the next 8 hours.
Yeah, because last week they played at 1, and I could wrap my head around it. I was excited, but I knew it was coming early. Now it's like I have to kind of hold all this in, and we have to watch another football game before ours even starts. It's just different. As Bills fans, we're used to watching them at 1 o'clock on Sunday every week. So when you get a night game, it's hard to contain it and even know what to do for the whole day. So even when we're doing this, I'm kind of fuck. I'm that's on the back of all our minds.
Yeah, I'm do I start drinking right now? I'm it's 11 o'clock and the Bills don't play for 9 hours, but I always drink during the podcast, so I don't know how to handle myself right now.
That's another reason we might be on edge.
Yeah,
Too sober.
I haven't had a beer in 24 hours. My hands might start shaking.
Do you guys want to call your shot right now? Predict the score before it happens and see next week we can reveal if we were correct?
Oh, I like this, Jeremy. I like this. My guess is going to be 34-20 Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm thinking 31-27. I don't think it'll be as safe as what you're predicting, Bob. I'll go 31-27 Buffalo, and it's going to come down to another defensive play. I'll be nervous as hell.
I will lose my fucking mind if that happens again. Jer, what do you got?
I'm also thinking it'll be too close for anyone to not have a heart attack during the middle of the game. I'm going to say 27-24 Buffalo.
Oh, it's wild because if you asked us a year ago to predict the Texans game, I almost think we all would have said the Bills would have lost. Now we're kind of on top of the world we're 14-3. That's wild.
I say it into existence, though. I always go with at least a 2-touchdown win for the Bills. I always say it into existence. Doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does work out.
I hope you're right, Bob. For once in my life, I hope you're right.
All right. Well, while we got the nerves, we definitely do. We admit it. Let's try to distract ourselves for the next hour and change. Why don't we? And to do that, we're going to start off by talking about a little bit of news. Ben, what news topic did you bring to the table today?
Yeah, Jeremy has us putting more work in for this podcast. So what I did for my news topic? I'm let me distract myself. I don't want to think about the Bills. So what did I do? I picked the Nickelodeon broadcast of the NFL game last week between the Chicago Bears and the New Orleans Saints. I don't know about you guys. I watched about a half hour of this. It was the first time they've had an NFL game on Nickelodeon. It kind of felt like state propaganda TV to me a little bit, putting it on a child's TV show, but I think it actually worked. They had the slime zone for the end zone, which they didn't really get to use that much because it was a low-scoring game. But what were your general thoughts on it? How much of it did you watch? Did you even watch any of it? Bob, what about you?
I watched a majority of it on Nickelodeon. I had to, when they announced it, I was I cannot wait to watch this fucking game. Like you said, kind of was a boring game. And I didn't really know how they're going to pull it off. I was expecting all the SpongeBob, the little cutaways they did with SpongeBob and shit like that. I thought that was funny. I thought that was cool. It's kind of odd when you think about it. They are gearing this towards kids. I think to try to get new fans, not a bad idea. Just kind of weird if you think about it. I don't think the NFL needs more fans, but maybe, kids aren't playing football like they used to for a number of reasons. But I don't know. The Slime Zone was like when you saw it, it was funny. Like I was really a big fan of the commentary crew. Actually, let me rephrase that. I was a big fan of Nate Burleson. I thought he
Yeah.
was perfect for it. Like even when he was explaining like the rules to like younger kids that might not understand it, I thought that was great. I was like, there's no better person for it. I'm a huge fan of his. So I just, whenever he's calling a game, which is very rarely, I know he does, like last year he did a few playoff games, but like he was doing it, so I was excited. But the rest of his crew had a little bit, they left a little bit on the table with the rest of that commentary
Yeah.
crew.
I think they did a good job though having I think her name was Gabby on it, but he didn't like patronize the
No,
girl who was asking the questions. And it was like there could have been like they could have had someone else in there who's like thinks he's too good to do this. Like Nate Burleson like did
exactly.
not do that at all, and I think that's why it worked. And like you talked about the Slime Zone, it was a little gimmicky in that. Like they had some gimmick, but like it worked. It was like for kids.
Or
Jeremy, what did
SpongeBob in the in between the
yeah.
field goal posts.
Exactly. Like that was weird as hell, but it worked. It was supposed to be stupid. Jeremy, what
Yeah.
did you think?
I unfortunately was not able to catch it live. I prioritized the Browns and who'd they play last week?
The Steelers.
The Browns Steelers game. I was editing this podcast actually during this game, but I was keeping up with it on Twitter. I did watch I think the NFL account on YouTube posted like a 10-minute best of highlight sort of thing. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was super entertaining. I just like when you give a new group of people the ability to just kind of do whatever they want with something that is so standardized, I guess, across all the other channels that show football games. Like, yeah, it was like kind of gimmicky and geared towards kids, but I was like, this is cool. This is like a football game like we've never seen before. Up and down, I thought it was just awesome. I wish it would have been a better game, but I'm not sure that the Saints and Bears are going to convince kids who don't know what football is to watch football. But I mean,
Exactly.
if I had the option, I'd say, yeah, put the Bills game tonight on Nickelodeon.
Maybe pick a better matchup, but like Jeremy's totally right. As somebody that watches hours and hours of football a week, it was very refreshing to see it, and it wasn't geared towards us, but it was kind of refreshing to see it presented in a different light. And I'm curious to see if it actually does create new fans, younger fans.
You know what I think? I think it did work because the headline for the article is Nickelodeon's NFL game broadcast was the network's most watched program in 4 years. So, and it reached 2.06 million viewers. So, a lot of people were watching. I don't know if it was like mostly adults just checking in and seeing
Like us.
like how it looked, or if it was like how many of those people were children. But my thinking with this is everyone's watching football basically these next couple weeks on the weekends, the Super Bowl. Why not have this and like 10 different versions of this? Like have one on HBO where they're swearing and it's like, fuck, that was a bad call, or on Comedy Central where they're making jokes.
Well,
I just think
weren't they swearing on Nickelodeon?
Nah, no, I don't think they were.
I'm pretty sure they dropped an F-bomb on Nickelodeon.
Oh, really? One of that they didn't catch it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. But I want the announcers swearing. I want the people. I want like if you had an HBO broadcast and then the two people were like, one was like a famous fan of one team, one was a famous fan of the other team, and they could like bitch about calls and stuff like that.
They just shit
Just
talk
like
each other the whole time.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of like experimenting they could do to see how far they could take this.
I would pay probably $20 to $50 a game to hear an unedited swearing broadcast of like the announcers swearing. I would fucking kill. It'd just be like I was talking to one of my friends. Like if they had me calling the games, I'm like, "Oh, this is fucking bullshit." Like
this is why we need a big Movie Boys broadcast of the game. I'm waiting for that to happen where we live stream and do the game.
I mean, that could potentially. I'm not saying we could do it, but I mean, they're doing stuff like with Thursday night football games. There's at least one big Twitch streamer, goes by the name Tim the Tat Man, and there may be others, but I'm only familiar with him doing it, where he has a contract where he streams the games, Thursday night games, on Twitch, and he has like his webcam in there and he's commentating over it. So like they are experimenting with different ways of presenting football, and so maybe one day the big movie boys can, host their own broadcast.
That would be so amazing.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of experimenting, Jeopardy is now experimenting with the first guest host of Jeopardy. We all know Alex Trebek sadly passed away. The show must go on, though, and the first guest host was Ken Jennings. And this was his first week. He started on Monday. It was the first time he was hosting Jeopardy. I went through and I watched all of it. I watched every episode that was available. We talk about it on the pod pretty often about what we were expecting out of him. And yeah, we finally got to see it. It started off with like a kind of a touching tribute to Alex Trebek. It wasn't as long as I was expecting, but it was Ken Jennings talking, mentioning like, how important Alex Trebek is. And it felt super genuine. And it really started it started this new Jeopardy era off on like a good foot, in my opinion. Because you could tell like when he was talking about Alex Trebek, it was brief, but like he like obviously respected the man. Everybody did. And like Ken Jennings wouldn't be Ken Jennings without Jeopardy. So I think it was like coming from the bottom of his heart. So that whole like opening dialogue where we talked about Alex Trebek really started it off well for me. And I was shocked. I really wasn't expecting it. And I guess let me ask first, did you guys catch any episodes this week? Have you seen Ken Jennings as the new guest host of Jeopardy?
I saw one episode. I did not see his first one.
Yeah, I watched the first one, and like you, Bobby, yeah, it was a touching little tribute. And then I thought it was just weird. It was weird without him. I didn't necessarily love like Ken Jennings' presence, and I can't base it off his first ever try, because if you listen to our first ever podcast or even this podcast, we're terrible, so I can't judge him. But I'm not a huge fan going forward. But like I didn't watch all 5 like you did, Bob. So
see, for me, it's like I was expecting to not like it. I was expecting him to be creepy. I don't think he came off creepy. He just came off like the cadence in his voice and the way he would interject felt like he was doing an Alex Trebek parody.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. Yeah,
it didn't feel like it was. I don't know what genuine Ken Jennings is, if I'm being honest, but it didn't feel genuine. And I'm not like mad about it, right? Like I just thought it went way better than I was expecting. I thought maybe he would goof up or like not do a good job of it. He didn't come off creepy to me though. He really didn't. I was expecting him to come off creepy, and maybe it's just because we don't see his face that often. I didn't even realize it until we're watching the show. I'm like, I really only see his face like maybe 3 or 4 times throughout the show. It's mostly the screen and the questions. And like I got pretty caught up in some of the questions, just good categories this week. So I was able to like lose myself in it and almost for a moment forget that it was Ken Jennings. I don't know how to explain it. It just went better than I thought, and it just made me more excited to see the new guest host. Like I haven't watched an entire week of Jeopardy in a very long time, and obviously it's because Ken Jennings is there. Is the reason I did. And I was pleasantly surprised, and I just wanted to see, what it's going to be like going forward. But Ben, as the person that probably watched the most of it besides me, did you think he was creepy?
No, like you said, like it's mostly just on the screen anyways and asking the questions. I'll think it's creepy when he has to like do the dress up questions like they do, and where
That
he
is
has to
awkward.
like be that person. But no, for the most part, it's just like, what else can you really do? You're just asking the questions, and then it feels like he does know the answers more so than like even Alex Trebek did. But I'm just excited to see like other hosts and just compare them and like, what the fuck do I really know? But I'd like just be a person who's like, oh, I thought this one was better. Like it would be nice to have like a little more, I don't know, energy. He was just kind of somber, and yeah, like you said, he's doing like a Trebek impersonation rather than just trying to be his own person. But I guess that it's kind of hard to be the first one to follow him. You kind of think like, should I be my own, or should I just try to replicate what he was doing? So I think it's hard for anyone to come in and do that.
Actually, to go off, I mean, we were talking football at the beginning of the podcast. Aaron Rodgers has been confirmed as one of the guest hosts.
That's
I don't know when
great.
he's going to do it, but he is going to be a guest host. I assume it's only going to be for like maybe 1 or 2 episodes. It's not going because he's not going to be the actual guest host. It's not like a tryout like it is for Ken Jennings. But just thought I'd interject there. But Jeremy, what did you think? Did you think he was creepy? Do you think he has a good chance of being the host going forward? Like when it's all said and done, we've tried everybody. Like, what do you think about it?
I wouldn't say he was creepy. It was definitely jarring. I hadn't watched an episode of Jeopardy in a few weeks. Obviously, the last one I watched did have Alex Trebek in it, so it was a little bit jarring just to get going. I thought once the questions started rolling, it was perfectly fine. Certainly wasn't the same, but no huge criticisms there. The place that stuck out the most to me was when he started interviewing the 3 contestants, and I realized like, all right, here's the difference: is that Alex Trebek just oozes charisma and he's just incredibly personable, whereas Ken Jennings, it felt like there was a producer off camera pointing a gun at him. But yeah, I don't know. The interviews is where it stuck out the most for me. So, but I mean, generally speaking, I thought it was fine. I'm excited by the prospect of there being new interim hosts, and I don't know that Ken Jennings has my vote yet, but we'll just have to kind of wait and see. I will say though, I'm happy Jeopardy is continuing forward because I hope the game show Jeopardy outlives humanity.
I agree.
Me too.
All right, well then let's get to my news topic here. I'm going to shock the world here when I tell you that my news topic has to do with the MCU. I guarantee nobody saw that one coming. Let me just first say WandaVision, first 2 episodes out on Disney+. Not going to say anything about it other than I dug it and you should watch it. To get to the actual news topics, the first one that came out this week was about Deadpool 3. This is coming from a Collider article. They say, when Deadpool 3 happens, it won't be as some tangentially related property with a couple of jokes about the MCU. Ryan Reynolds' foul-mouthed mercenary is officially joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and he'll be keeping his R rating. Feige said sisters Lizzie Molyneux-Logelin and Wendy Molyneux are hard at work on the script with Reynolds overseeing, but Deadpool 3 filming won't begin until 2022 at the earliest. So there was a lot of questions when Disney bought Fox. What's going to happen to Deadpool? There is no R-rated movies in the MCU, and likely won't be until this movie comes out in 2023 or whenever it ends up coming out. I liked the first Deadpool movie a lot. Deadpool 2 was fine. I didn't like it as much, but I'm obviously excited to see how they're going to incorporate Deadpool into the MCU. Bob, do you have any thoughts on this yourself?
I was truly shocked that they said it's going to be rated R. You said there's never been a rated R MCU movie. Has there ever been a rated R Disney movie? I don't think. Can't imagine there ever was.
I mean, Disney owns a lot of production and distribution companies, so like Miramax was owned by Disney, or maybe it still is, and they made a lot of R-rated movies under Miramax. As far as like having a Disney logo or a Marvel logo in front of it, I don't believe so.
That's true. Like, I mean, I guess I didn't even think about Disney owns basically everything. But if you think about the big pillars of Disney, it's like Star Wars, Marvel, like things like that. So like, I look at the MCU as they're still Disney movies, but I'm excited for it. Yeah, I like Deadpool a lot. It's going to be awesome. I just can't wait to see how this universe grows and grows post Infinity War, or post Endgame. It's just going to be interesting. And I think, things like this is really the only way, because we're never going to have a big, long story stretched over this many movies ever again. I think little things like this where we just interject like characters from, Fox and like and Sony and like things like that. When these all finally come together and they actually have an MCU of all the characters, I think that's the new way we're going to get excited for stuff. Like new characters being added to the MCU. That's going to be like the big selling point of this movie. Because Deadpool was great. Everybody saw Deadpool. Everybody liked it for the most part, at least everybody I know. So if this was just a regular Deadpool 3, would I be excited for it? I'd be like, probably not. I could probably miss this, or, if it's good, I'll check it out. But when it's the Deadpool 3 in the MCU, it becomes buzzworthy and a must-see.
What about you, Ben? Do you have any is Deadpool something you're excited for? I know you're the least interested in the MCU, generally speaking.
I'm just the most down on MCU stuff. Maybe it's more connected to your next article that you're going to bring up, but yeah, I've seen pieces of Deadpool. Bob, everyone has seen this movie. I guess we don't know each other that well because I have not seen it in its entirety. It'll be on like FX sometimes, but I've seen parts of it and it's funny and it's good. And then I saw parts of the second one. I'm like, wait, is this that good? Do people love this one too? And of course, it just doesn't seem like it, I guess. So I won't come at that movie too much because it isn't as hyped.
That one sucks.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess I'd be more willing to watch this movie because I probably watch like 40% of the Marvel movies. That like Jeremy, obviously, you're at like 100%. Bob's probably at like 95%. Maybe you're even at 100, Bob. But like, so this one I would definitely check out once it's on like Disney Plus in 5 years, because I'll be curious to actually see how like they interject him. Like that's interesting to me, but. Yeah, if it was a standalone like Deadpool 3, I haven't even seen like the first two in its entirety. So maybe one day I would eventually check it out. But I might just watch this movie because I'm curious to see how they just throw everything together.
Well, maybe this next bit of news will get you even more excited on the MCU. This is from an article by Deadline, In a move that is sure to rock the Marvel Cinematic Universe, sources tell Deadline that Chris Evans is cleaning the dust off his Captain America attire, as he is expected to reprise his role in the MCU in some form. It's still vague whether the deal is closed, but insiders say it's headed in that direction for Evans to return as Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, in at least one Marvel property, with the door open for a second film. Sources added it's unlikely that it's a new Captain America installment, and more likely to be what Robert Downey Jr. did after Iron Man 3, appearing in such films as Captain America Civil War and Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, if you heard this news and you were shocked by it because you thought Chris Evans had pretty definitively said he's done with Captain America, you're not the only one, because Chris Evans himself was also shocked by this news when he tweeted out, "News to me," with a shrugging emoji. So a bit of a roller coaster of emotions on my end when I got very excited by this and then realized, oh, okay, it's probably not happening if Chris Evans isn't even aware of it. But I don't know. I mean, I personally was pretty happy with how they concluded Chris Evans' Captain America in the MCU. Obviously, I'm not going to say no if they want to put him back into a few more movies and some minor roles. Truthfully, if they made another Captain America movie with him in it, obviously I'm still going to watch it. Bob, I'll kick it to you again. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, this shocked the shit out of me at first, and then seeing Chris Evans like almost deny it, but I don't know. Who knows? That could be part of a fucking publicity stunt for all we know. It's just add fuel to the fire, add speculation to it. But my initial thoughts were kind of what you said, Jeremy. I feel like he had a perfect send-off. Not perfect, but I really liked his send-off, and I don't think we needed to see any more from him. I thought it was a definitive end for the most part, and it was good, and I liked it the way it was. So I was like, what the fuck? Of course they're going to bring him back, dude. They're just going to milk the cash cow. But then I was thinking about it, and I was like, wait, if we go off of like the way he ended in the MCU, I wouldn't mind seeing him in like Agent Carter in like a period piece of, I don't know what decade maybe they do, because maybe they do the 50s or the 60s or something. Maybe it's just like a little in the future off of that timeline, just because then we could see like a different time period MCU movie, because I loved the first Captain America taking place during like World War II. I would like to see maybe like Captain America in like Vietnam or something. Like, think about that. Like, that's obviously a possibility because of where he is in the timeline. I just think that would be cool. And I think that is, other than him just being a cameo possibly in like another universe, or maybe they time travel again or something, who knows? If it's not just a cameo and it's an actual like role, I would like it to be a movie set in it, like a Captain America movie set in a different time period. That would just fucking blow my mind. I'd be so happy if that happened. So I went from initially being kind of like pissed off about it to then being super excited for the possibilities.
Ben, I know I can see from across the town here that you already have your wallet open. You're just waiting for them to take your money.
This is exactly why I hate the MCU and don't watch all the movies, because they just can do whatever they want, and people like Jeremy and Bob will just be, oh, that sounds cool, I'll go watch this. It just like, we lost to Thanos. Oh, what if we come up with a bullshit way to time travel? I just hate stupid tropes like that, and they ended their like Endgame was just like, I didn't love Endgame. I loved Infinity War, but I didn't like Endgame because that's just such a stupid way. And Bob's like, let's get Captain America in Vietnam. What? Let's send him to the Civil War. Let's put him in the medieval times. Fuck it. We can just do whatever we want with this guy. I don't know. You ended it on like a pretty good note. Like, what's next? Are they gonna bring Iron Man back? Just use their time travel trope? It just adds too many things into it that just make it a stupid, convoluted universe to me. And it's why I don't like all the movies as much as you guys do, because I just think they just make up whatever they want and then come up with a bullshit reason, and then billions of people are like, you know what, that's great, I loved it, and it's always gonna piss me off. It's always gonna make me upset, and so I hope it doesn't actually happen, because then maybe I'll have some sense of I was right, maybe. But yeah, the news to me, I think it is like you said, Bob. I think it'll end up happening. He'll be in some movie, and this is just like to make things like interesting. And yeah, like you're telling me it's news to Chris Evans. He wasn't in on this. Yeah, okay. I don't believe that for 1 second.
Yeah, right.
Ben, I'll agree with you on one point. You do need a pretty high IQ to appreciate the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I appreciate
that's true.
that. But I think that's all the news for this week. Although we've got a little bit of internal news, and that's going to come when we talk about our punishment review. So if you listened last week, you know we did Big Movie Boys Presents Who is the Biggest Movie Boy Challenge Dual Edition. Pitted Ben and Bob against each other in a competition regarding actors' stage names. And in the end, Bob squeaked out a win, 9 points to 8. It was a real nail-biter. Recommend you go back and listen to it if you haven't already. Something that got cut out of that episode, shortly after we finished the game, we took a little pee break, and Bob revealed some information. I'm going to play a short clip that was recorded and cut from last week's episode.
And pause it right there, because I'm going to pee.
Guys, can I admit something?
You looked it up.
You cheated?
I looked up Vin Diesel because as soon as I saw his name on the list, I knew Jeremy would use it at some point. So I looked it up right in the beginning just because I knew you would use it, and I thought it would be your tiebreaker at the end, and it was. So
you cheated?
No, you still have to watch the movie, Ben. You definitely looked up Elton John. So
No, I didn't. I did not look up.
There's no way you knew that one.
No, that was like how you knew Whoopi Goldberg. It's just a fucking guess.
I was gonna guess Whoopi Goldberg the entire time.
Bob, even if I did, I did not cheat. What? You cheated. Oh, this is some bullshit.
I looked up Vin Diesel before. So what?
Well, what if I would have looked up Whoopi Goldberg before, thinking, "Oh, Jeremy will be a wise guy and use Whoopi as a fucking." Oh my god!
Honesty is the best policy. You have to watch Mulan.
I might quit the Big Movie Boy podcast over this.
Hey, at least I didn't lie. I looked it up as soon as I saw his name on the list because I knew Jeremy.
I would have rather you lied. I would have rather you lied to me.
You didn't lie, but you cheated. I don't see how that's any better.
No problem with that.
Man, I would be very pissed if I were Ben right now. All right, now we're back in present day. Bob, have you reflected on this past week? Do you have anything to say for yourself?
You know, how we got here is irrelevant. What matters is I watched Mulan. That's about all I have to say about it.
I ultimately decided that Bob's actions, they deserved punishment. If we can't uphold the sanctity of the Big Movie Boy Challenge, then who will? And so I said, Bob, your punishment is you have to watch the punishment movie. I think you kind of lucked out because of the 12 movies Ben had the choice of potentially watching, I think this one was the highest rated. But then I believe, Ben, you also watched it in solidarity.
Yeah, in an act of solidarity, I wanted to watch this just so I could see what Bob had to go through. And Bob, I'll let you give
You wanted to see if I actually... You wanted to see if I actually watched it.
Yeah.
That's why you watched the movie.
I told you, I think I watched this Wednesday or Thursday, maybe. I think I watched it overnight, even, pausing it like I like to do. And I sent Jeremy a snap, and I go, not going to tell Bob I'm watching this because I know he won't watch it then. So I waited until you said you actually watched it.
No, yeah, I watched it. Are we just going to get right into it, I guess? Yeah, I mean... kind of weird because I actually didn't hate this movie. I would say I actually enjoyed it in the way that I can justify me enjoying it. Number one, I would pause the movie when I left the room. I was like, I want to know what happens. So I paused the movie. So I was like, I am definitely enjoying this movie enough to care what happens about it. But you guys, it's on the punishment movie list. I was shocked because when it was over, I probably gave it like a 5.5 to 6 out of 10, right? But it wasn't like punishment movie worthy. A punishment movie, I'm thinking like a 1 or a 2 or a 3 at best. And I was like, why did there was obviously some pretty big flaws with the movie, and there's a lot of wacky shit that happened in it that was kind of shitty. But for the most part, there was enough of things that I enjoyed that I could overlook the shitty parts of it. But I was like, why did I enjoy this movie? Why did everybody hate this movie? And I was like, I haven't seen Mulan in probably since I was 6 or 7 years old, and I don't remember any of it. I'm watching the story of Mulan, and about all I know is that she pretends to be a boy and goes to war. So I didn't know anything that happened. I don't even remember most of the characters. So I think that's why I ended up enjoying it more than somebody that liked Mulan and knows the story of Mulan because they're like, oh, they fucked this up, they did this wrong, they did this different. That can make you hate a movie even more. I went into it with a completely level no opinions either way. Like, I don't know if they're fucking up from the original or changing things or this or that. So I think I enjoyed it for what it was. And I would definitely say it wasn't a punishment to watch this movie. It wasn't good by any standards, but it definitely wasn't a punishment. So I was almost happy I watched it. So a bit of a backfire.
Bob, you had said that like you would pause it when you left the room. I was different. I like folded laundry during this movie. I left to like go get food. Like I wasn't. I didn't.
So
watch
you didn't watch the movie?
No, I watched it, but I was like doing other shit while I watched it because one, I didn't have to watch it, but I was just like. But I also watched it through the lens because I watched it with my girlfriend who apparently watches Mulan every week because she knew like every part of this. I didn't know she probably hasn't seen it since she was like 12, but she like knew every like aspect of the movie, and it made me annoyed. Like the hawk is just like a hawk in the regular movie, but yet it's like a woman in this movie. Like it's just stupid to me. I don't know. To me, I guess this shouldn't be a flaw because it's a Disney movie and it's an American movie. But after seeing Parasite, and this movie's based in China, I'm just a little annoyed that like the whole time I'm like, they would be speaking Chinese. It just made me so mad the entire time.
Mulan last night. I didn't want to watch this movie. Everything I'd heard about it was that it sucked. But I also hadn't seen the original Mulan in probably 20 years. So I watched that last night as I was falling asleep. That holds up. That was a good movie. I enjoyed that a lot. My general understanding of all these Disney remakes is that they're all a punishment. Maybe this one apparently less so. Have either of you gotten into any of these remakes that they've been doing over the last few years?
I've seen bits and pieces. I saw bits and pieces of the Lion King one. I wanted to see Aladdin until I heard that flopped, but yeah, I mean, I know a little bit about it. I know for the general consensus of these that they're not as good as the original and that they should probably stop making them. But I don't remember the original, so I took this movie for what it was, and I didn't hate it as much. Had I seen the original and held the original in a high standard, probably would have a similar opinion to most people that it sucked. But no, I don't know. I almost want to watch some of the other ones now. Like I almost want to watch the Aladdin one because who knows? Oh, it's bad?
I watched I don't know, maybe it was because Will Smith was blue. I just couldn't get past it. But I watched probably that movie the same way I watched Mulan, but even less so. I think I probably fell asleep during that one, but that like shows me that it wasn't as good. Like I fell asleep during it. And I think that's why I won't go back and watch Lion King, because that one's my favorite and I don't want that like tarnished.
I stopped watching that. It was really not good. Like from the beginning, I could tell I wasn't going to like it, and I just wasn't in the mood for it. But let me ask you this, Ben, because I'll say the two things that I liked the most about the movie, and just see if you, as somebody else who has seen it, see if you agree. And one is kind of a contradiction, because I was about to say like the visuals of this movie, because some of the fight scenes are really shitty, and like the way they're cut and the way she's like jumping between like rooftops just looks awkward. It looks weird. It looks cheap. I don't know how to explain it. Did you get that feeling as well?
No, yeah, especially in that first scene where she's a little girl. I get like a little girl is not going to be able to actually do the stuff that a Disney hero would do, but they made it look so shitty to me that like it was just like that was shitty. And like yeah, the other fight scenes were like some of them are like look cool and the visuals are kind of cool, but yeah, the fight scenes are so like messy that it's not, it doesn't look like it's a real fight at all. Like everything's almost in slow motion. Like they rushed like that aspect of it. No, I totally agree with that.
Those visuals are weird, and like they look odd. But the thing that I did like is like some of like the landscape shots. Like I'm thinking about the way the movie starts, right? Like the colors,
yeah,
like,
that
and then like
cool
the city as well. Like I have a 4K TV, and it literally looked outrageous. I felt like I was in the fucking Best Buy looking at TVs, and they were playing this movie because they're like, "Ooh, look at the colors! This is a great movie to show in 4K." Like. And I was watching it like that, and it was really drawn in from the beginning of like those, I don't know, like the scenery shots, and like some of the colors and stuff just looked really, really good on my TV, and like just like I thought it was really cool. Like I thought it was interesting, and from the beginning I was like, oh, this looks nice. Like this is pretty like visually pleasing of a movie to watch. And then they fucked it up with some of the fight scenes and some of like the weird movements and the way they cut it. So like it's weird. It's like something I like and then something I also don't like. It's like they did some things really good and then something's really bad. But the good part was when it started and like I saw some of those, colors and visuals, I was like, oh, this is pleasing to the eye. So I really liked that. And then the other thing I really liked, the bad guy, whose name I don't fucking remember. What is his name?
No idea. But no,
Bori Khan?
Yeah, Boycon, and like
Love the
his
casting
dad
of
was
him.
also a Boycon. I don't know if that's like his title or his name or whatever, but he was actually a good villain, and the girl villain who ends up being not a villain, I guess, was
She
all
was
right.
shitty. Very
I thought,
underdeveloped.
yeah, it was like because she was just a hawk in the first movie, so they didn't really know what to do. But I thought like they have the first scene where like the bad guys like storm the Capitol or whatever, like some army outpost, and they're just running up the wall, and I was out. I was out on the movie. I'm like, this is some bullshit. Like they're just running up a wall, and it's not like a short wall. It just
In
I don't know.
the
I didn't like that.
original, it's the Great Wall.
Is it? And then are they actually running up it? Are they doing that?
No, they use like hooks, like they throw like I don't know batarangs up
Gotcha.
there
See,
and climb up.
I can like see how that would work then. But in this, they're just running. I think the
Ben,
only part.
It was their chi.
Yeah, they just kept calling it chi, and I'm just
See,
like,
I don't know if that's in the original. Like,
It's
I don't
not.
know. For me,
Yeah.
that's a bulletproof explanation. I was like, oh, it's their chi, no problem. But like, I don't know what their chi is. I have no idea.
It just like gave their chi is like their superpower. I think the one cool thing about it was just like how easy it was. Like it's a kids movie at the end of the day, so it's like just we joke like when we're playing games or something like red versus blue. Like just growing up, that's always what it was, red versus blue. And this one basically was that it was just red versus black. And I thought that was it's like in like most we're gonna talk about Outside the Wire in a second. And it's like sometimes tough to tell who you're supposed to be rooting for, but like this one is like the most easy I've ever been able to tell in any movie.
Yeah, they make the bad guys very obviously tell.
Yeah.
But like what I was saying though, I really did like the guy that played Bori Khan, I think was his name. I just thought it was like a cool casting, and that guy looked like a badass, and I'm just like, why the fuck is he in this movie? He should be the bad guy in like a serious like rated R movie or something. It was also odd because there's some like pretty like heavy like strikes with arrows and kicks and punches as well as swords, and I'm like, there would be blood. Like it's just
No blood.
a little. Yeah, no blood in this movie. I think this movie, like the way they made it, I was watching it. I was like, this would be so much better if it was like a rated R movie.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like,
I want
like
that guy to be in
invaders
Rush
and-
Hour 4 now that you mentioned that guy in something else.
Sue Young's dad was what's her
Oh, yeah,
name's dad in this?
Yeah, you're right.
Mulan. I don't know. I said what's her
Mulan.
name? The title character.
You know Sue Young's name from Rush Hour, but not
But I don't-
Mulan's name from Mulan. That's wild.
Jeremy, you should watch it. Honestly, then we can really talk about it.
I genuinely have less than zero interest in any of these Disney remakes. Like, why would I watch any of these movies when the better version has existed for 20 plus years?
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. And
Fair
like,
point.
like I almost watched that one too, and then I was like, no, Bob cheated and lost this week. He should be watching both if any.
Hey, I enjoyed it, so it all comes back.
Yeah, I'm not too thrilled about this. Doesn't sound like much of a punishment, but I guess it took 2 hours out of your week?
Yeah, just about.
Well, I can tell you what was a punishment. Outside the Wire is the latest Netflix original movie. Came out January 15th, 2021. Written by Rowan Athale and Rob Yascombe, two writers that I am not familiar with any of their work. Directed by Mikael Hofstrom, a director who I'm not familiar with any of their work. This movie stars Anthony Mackie and Damson Idris. I think we'll go pretty much open the floodgates on spoilers, even though it is new. But before we get into that, let's just do 5 minutes around the table, general thoughts, and whether or not you would recommend it. Bob, we'll start with you. Ben, we're going to end with you.
Yeah, for me, I watched this right after Mulan, so very different movies. I enjoyed it. Jeremy, you sounded like you don't like it. It was, it was your generic shitty action movie, which I love movies like this. Like, yeah, the plot was a little convoluted, kind of. I mean, we'll get into it. The sort of twist, if you want to call it that, kind of confused me a little bit. I didn't know where it was coming from. I didn't fully understand it. I'm sure we'll talk about it. But I love the action scenes for the most part. I thought Anthony Mackie was pretty awesome in it. I liked Harp. I don't know. You mentioned the actor's actual name. I'm just going to call him Harp because I think that's a sick-ass fucking character name.
Yeah, great character name.
Yeah, fucking badass. I liked Harp a lot. I loved the futuristic aspect of, like, not even futuristic because it's, 2036?
Something like that, yeah. 2030 something.
Other than Anthony Mackie being an android, I think all the other aspects of it, like the robots actually fighting, and then like the drones, like being like the drone division of the Air Force and stuff. Like, I thought that was cool. That seemed very plausible, and I'm like, I feel like in 2036, all of that stuff probably will actually exist. So I enjoyed it for what it was. Was it perfect? No. Was it entertaining? Yes. So I liked it. I enjoyed it.
I did not like it. I thought it sucked for the most part. I realized at one point that my brain was just like, it wasn't even retaining the movie. Like, after I made the decision that I'm not really into this, my brain's like, you got enough bullshit stored in your memory already. We're just not even going to retain anything that's happening in this movie. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, because I watched this movie 12 hours ago, 14 hours ago, and I've already forgotten almost all of it. The last just kind of generic action movie we watched was the first one we reviewed on this podcast, Extraction, which I thought was way more redeemable. Sure, that story was kind of whatever, but I thought the action in that movie was exceptional. There were very few, if any, like redeeming qualities in this movie for me. So I'm interested to hear exactly what you guys got out of it, because I barely got anything out of it personally. But Ben, it sounded like you were at least a little bit more positive than I was.
Yeah, I'm probably more in the middle of you guys. You mentioned Extraction, and that's the only movie I can compare it to, because that's like the last shitty action movie I've watched. I thought it was a little better than that. The only difference being that Extraction had like one of the coolest scenes ever with that car chase, and I like always remember that for that movie. I just thought this story was a little better. I think more so, it basically came down to, I think I really like Anthony Mackie, and I want him to be more famous, and I want him in like some stupid like comedy movies where he's just like the main character with like another guy where they co-lead it. And I think he's just really fun to be around. I think like him and Harp, they're like dynamic when they were just joking about like calling him Gummy Bear. Like just parts like that. I want
Good
more
chemistry.
Yeah, I want more Anthony Mackie in funny movies, or like just not action movies, because this, like, he was good I thought he was really good in it. That's basically why I didn't hate watching this movie as much as you did, Jeremy.
And I'll agree with you. I like Anthony Mackie, and I like what he could do in this role, given what the role was. I think he clearly had to put a lot of work into it for his performance to even be as good as it was, given the material he had to work with. But you guys obviously more positive than I am. I'm gonna say, don't even waste your time. It's 2 hours long. It's 2 hours too long, in my opinion, and this is one you can skip.
No, I'm going to say the opposite, Jeremy. I feel like if you're just cruising through Netflix on a Friday night and you got nothing to do and you just want to watch a movie, throw it on. I mean, like I said, it's not perfect. It's a generic shitty action movie. I think every once in a while, sometimes you got to throw some of those on and you get what you get out of it. And I don't know. I liked it. I agree with Ben. I think part of the reason I like it a lot is Anthony Mackie, and I really liked the actor that played Harp. I just thought he was cool. They had a great dynamic. It's not a good movie, but I mean, I think it's calling it you can skip this one, I think, is a little harsh, because I don't think it's that bad.
See, Jeremy is I think Jeremy's been down on like most of the movies. He's the biggest critic out of all of us, but I'm once again, I find myself in the middle of you guys. I think if you like movies like this, if you like a shitty action movie like Bob, I think you're more inclined to watch a movie like this, even if we weren't doing it for the pod. Whereas
Right.
like, I don't love movies like this, so I wouldn't watch this if we weren't doing it for the pod. So like, I wouldn't recommend it to all people. But if you like if you like action movies where by the end you're kind of like, I don't know how we got here, but I liked the action, then watch it. Like if you want to see robots fight each other, then watch it. But other than that, if you're looking to like kind of turn your brain off for an action movie, don't do that, because they try to make you think, like how Jeremy's mind just kind of shut off. You do have to work to make it to the end of this movie. And Bob, the fact that you watched Mulan, then that you still had like energy to make it through this movie, I'm kind of impressed, because I watched this movie yesterday morning and I was like, oh my God, when is this movie gonna fucking end? I hate how action movies feel inclined to be like 2 hours long. So if it was an hour and a half, I'd recommend it to all people, but it is too long. So if you like action movies, go watch it.
I agree, a little long.
And I can get down with a stupid action movie, but the stupid action movies I like have really good action, and the story is just serviceable to get you from action scene to action scene. The action scenes in this movie did not stick out to me as being that good. they felt few and far between, and the story that they chose to get you from scene to scene was just so convoluted that I just didn't care. So that would be my argument against it's a generic action movie worth watching. But obviously we got some split opinions here. If you don't want to be spoiled, then pause the podcast, go watch the movie, determine for yourself whether it was worth that 2 hours or not, and then we'll be here waiting for you to talk about the movie in its entirety, which we will do right now. I don't know. I got so many criticisms of this movie. Do you guys want to start on a positive note and tell me what you thought was good about it?
I would say
I already told you what I thought was good about it.
Oh, that was your full list?
I think well, I'm gonna double down and agree with Ben. I thought Anthony Mackie was really good. I liked the idea of it being a futuristic movie, not too far in the future. And like I said in the beginning, other than like him being an android, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen in 15 years. But having like those, it felt like there was like a drone division of the Air Force that guy was working for, which for all I know, that exists already right now.
That seems like it already exists.
Yeah, that might already exist.
I kind of liked that scene, even though it's like it's supposed to like hit you hard. Like he kills 2 American soldiers to save 38, and it's supposed to be like this: would you pull the lever to save 5 people if like a train was on track to kill them, or whatever? Like instead of 1, so it like gets you there. But like that was one of the only scenes I actually liked. But then, yeah, it's just I kind of buy that like we're 3 years out from having like robots in war, not 3 years out from having Anthony Mackie in war, like looking like a human.
Yeah.
That's probably way down the line, but so like that part was cool, but
yeah, that's what I liked about it. I think that was the coolest thing for me is that it was futuristic, but it
seemed realistic. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I mean, for all the fuck I know, I'm not in the fucking army. They might already have those, like, you know, like. So I thought that was cool. I think Anthony Mackie was just. I mean, it got a little weird at the end with the like, is he good? Is he bad? I didn't fully understand that, if I'm being honest. That's the part where I kind of checked out. But
he's bad, Bob. I'll ruin that one for you.
Okay, I mean, I figured it out by the end, but like when they weren't really saying it, and you had to kind of like think.
I don't think the movie knew. I don't think the writers knew.
Yeah, I think they were ready to justify him killing like like 1 million people in New York City, to save 100 million.
Why did we never see his? Why did we never see his like android robot face? Why was it like we saw? Because
it doesn't exist. Can we get to the
face?
Jer, if you want to bring out the major point that we texted about last night after you finished the movie, like let's talk about it.
Well, I'm more than willing to do that. That's the most notes I have. Before we get into that, though, just regarding Harp and kind of the stuff you were talking about he starts the movie by directly disobeying orders and shooting out whatever weapon he discovered.
The launcher,
The
Jer.
launcher, of course. How could I forget the very specific weapon, the launcher? He decides to disobey orders, shoots from his drone ship, kills 2 Americans in the process, and he claims he saved 38. He is unbothered by the fact that he just killed 2 of his own. He gets reprimanded, sort of, by being sent to this other camp, and then he becomes the moral compass for the movie moving forward. Like the morality, which is like a theme they try to drive home in this movie, felt all over the place for me.
Yeah, because he then is like put in the position of the people that he killed, like trying to save innocent people, even if like the smarter military move is to like take action right now so you can save more people. So like you're kind of thrown into that, and like he kind of changes his mind and like kind of regrets his decision by the end. But like they even say like, no, you made the right decision. You saved 38 people. They were going to die, and I don't know. So like they didn't even say like you were wrong and like really test his morality and say like you made the wrong decision. Like you killed 2 innocent people. Like I thought that would have been like the smarter way to do that, but I guess they just didn't want to make people feel bad during this movie. I don't know.
He kind of comes around on it at the end, you know, like, so there was a little growth in his character there. I don't know. Did
you think he was going to let the nuclear bomb go for a second? I was like, is he thinking about it? Like,
I did.
Shit.
I was like, wow, you really are weak. You do let that guy tell you what to do. Like,
for me, Harp, it didn't feel like an arc. It felt like he didn't care. And then as soon as he first teams up with Anthony Mackie, and Anthony Mackie leaves that one guy to just like get beaten to death, instantly he just has like a full 180 change of heart, and he becomes the new moral compass to go against Anthony Mackie. And I'm like, we just watched this guy kill 2 American soldiers and not care about it.
And while he was eating Cheetos.
Yeah, or gummy bears.
Is that what he was eating? Oh shit, my bad.
Yeah.
I guess that's why he's called gummy bear.
So yeah, I mean the whole morality discussion was completely lost on me, but
That's why this movie, it tried to be like this moral movie and make you think about it when it should have just tried to be more of an action movie.
Yeah, if they took that aspect out of it, I think it would improve the movie significantly.
But Ben, I'm more than willing to talk about Leo, the most pointless use of an android character ever. I'll let you make your argument first here.
Yeah. So I texted you, Jeremy. Anthony Mackie never had to be a robot. He is a robot for like 2 scenes basically, and your line is great. You're like, he really wasn't outside of 2 action scenes where he was like super powered. Otherwise, it was like, I have protocols I can't break except when I want to, which is always. It's like he could have just been this badass soldier whose idea of like just this rogue soldier who thought it was better to like let innocent people die to save like more people so future wars never happen, which was, I mean, just a stupid idea, because then like the US would just send nukes and the whole world would end. So his idea is stupid. But it was just like, he didn't have to be a robot, an android. And I think they tried to sell this movie as like, Anthony Mackie's a robot and he has a human partner. Like, I'd almost like the comedy version of that better, like I said, with him in a comedy movie. Because it's like, it wasn't even necessary. And it tried to be like the big selling point of the movie. And then they ignored it for most of the movie.
Yeah, I could not wrap my head around what they were trying to do. It literally felt like they finished the script and they're like, can you guys go back and make him a robot? And they're like, why? They're like, I don't know, it'll work better in the trailer. But like, he has complete autonomy. Like, there's no oversight. There's like 2 people in the world who know that this guy exists and they just let him do whatever he wants. He listens to music recreationally. He
feels pain.
He feels pain. He can make jokes. He swears. He can do, and he's like, I didn't even understand how they were trying to sell the fact that, well, he can't do whatever he wants unless he decides he wants to do whatever he wants.
It's basically if like,
Yeah,
case,
I did not
do
get
whatever
that.
he wants.
Wasn't it basically if the human like is wrong, then he's allowed to do it? So he basically gets to choose whether the human is allowed to tell him what to do. It was stupid. And then like the fact that he tricked Harp into taking out his quote unquote tracker, but it was really just his morality and his ability to not listen to humans. It was wild. Like, they just let him do whatever he wanted, and he never at one point was like checked. And like when Harp would be like, stop, like even like early on he like said no or stop, and like he does whatever he wants, and he's like, no, you don't tell me what to do, I'm your commanding officer. It's like, wait, what the fuck? He never once like had to listen to anyone else. It was wild.
You're right. He really did not need to be a robot at all. Like,
so
there was
stupid.
no point to it. And like I said earlier, I was like, well, I wonder what his face looks like underneath it. We really only saw like his robot body, but like,
Yeah.
even if you
wasn't
just
even-
had a scene like that, it'd be like, oh, he is a robot. You know, like, doesn't it feel like he isn't even one?
Like if he gets shot or something and like people start to notice or more people notice. But like it felt like that scene wasn't even cool enough to justify him being an android, where Harp like sees his robot body. Like, it kind of was cool, but it didn't even, like, when I said this movie could have been 30 minutes shorter, they just didn't need to make him a robot, and this movie would have been fine, and I think I would have liked it better.
I also like that he's obviously top of the line. Like, this technology isn't existing in the next 15 years, I can tell you that. And then compared to the Gumps, the, robot soldiers who are apparently also have autonomy because they're just trigger happy and they shoot whatever they want whenever they want.
That was wild. They're just shooting whenever the fuck they want.
They needed a little more on that part of the movie for me. I was like, why the fuck do they keep shooting people? Like,
they're like, I have a target, I have a shot, I'm gonna take it. Like, not waiting for anyone to say
like,
go for it.
There's no, like, you're telling me we can't control those robots? They just have to shoot?
That's what I'm saying. Like, clearly there's still bugs they're working out in the Gump, primitive robo soldiers, and then they go ahead and make a full human being one. That part blew my mind. Every time the Gumps come out, I'm like, oh, someone's getting their head shot off here, because
the exact scene that you're talking about, when there's like the big hostage scene kind of in the middle of the end, it's kind of near the end, I guess. And Harp's trying not to let him shoot anything because he doesn't know. The Gump just goes ahead, gets a shot at the one bad guy, takes it, and then full panic happens. And the Gump's
all these
just
hostages, all the hostages get killed right after. It's like, okay, is there no oversight on the Gumps? Like, they're just trigger happy robots that they just send out there. I mean, that scene that you're talking about outside the bank, which the whole bank is convoluted and I didn't even barely understand it. Then they send in all these Gumps, and then the bad guys also have Gumps, and they're all just shooting at each other, and it's like a 45-minute long scene of Harp trying to run in and out of that building with hostages, even though the hostages keep getting killed. And I'm like, what are they even fighting over right now? Why do I care about any of this?
Because they thought Victor Koval was there, who was like the worst
villain
bad
who
guy
we don't
of all
see
time.
until the 90-minute mark of the movie. And then
yeah,
he dies.
I could have went for a little more Vic Koval in my movie, if I'm being honest. I could never remember his name. Every time they brought it, like every time they showed like his little logo that was horrible, that was spray painted on things, and like you see like him on like a TV screen.
Is wild.
Yeah, I was like, that's about it. And yeah, I could go for a little more of him in the movie. He was, what do you think his combined screen time was?
He was in it for about 2
and 30 seconds
until he got shot and killed. Or no,
badass way to die.
Yeah, he got killed with like a spear or whatever.
They javelined his ass.
Yeah, he sucked.
I guess it's all right because he's not technically like the biggest bad guy in the movie because it ends up being Mackie, but it's just so stupid.
Yeah, but at that point, I'm still like, is Anthony Mackie the bad guy?
Yeah, exactly. We didn't know
does
what
the
his
movie
plans
know
were.
if he's the bad guy? Like, he seemed kind of like the good guy until that one conversation in the car, and then even then, Harp ends up getting interrogated by that lady, and I don't even know where her allegiances lie at this point.
No.
She was okay with millions of people being killed because she was like annoyed with the war in her hometown, I guess.
I kept getting all the Eastern European territories mixed up that they were mentioning. I was like, who's on whose side? I know Russia's in here somewhere. That was about it.
It was so convoluted, and like I just couldn't even grasp the idea of like, not even that the fact that like a woman is like the second bad character, like that's fine, but like the fact that she's running an orphanage and is actually like this great lady, and then also selling guns to pay for the orphanage. I was like, what the fuck are they even trying to do? Are they trying to have like some like bigger discussion on like all good things have bad things going on behind them?
No, I think anti-heroes are just hot in movies today, so we had to make her a half-assed version of one.
I know, that was so weird.
So can either of you explain to me what Anthony Mackie's plan was at the end? He decides, I'm going to send a nuke to the U.S. to convince them that making soldiers like me is a bad idea. Is that the entirety of it?
I literally wrote down in my notes, so he did it because he doesn't want robots to be in war, ? I'm just like, I'm so confused as to why he did it.
I think that might be it. That's
because
kind of what I gathered out of it.
Because he thinks like the Gumps and like robots like him are gonna like do more damage in the future and kill more people. So he's like, well, I might as well kill millions of people now, and then that'll save lives in the for the rest. He thinks sending that one nuke will end all wars, and he, like, I don't know if he learned any Cold War history, like
an end
it
of the
would
world.
Kill everyone.
Yeah, that was confusing when they decide the way that the bad guy is gonna be good is by sending a nuke and killing millions of people, and that, like you said, Ben, is somehow gonna stop wars from happening instead of escalating everything way further.
You know, the U.S. government would be like, that was one of our robot soldiers. That's on us, guys. That they would just take all the complaints. They'd be like, shoot, that's on us. No, they would be like, this is the middle. We have to bomb everyone. That's what would happen.
Also, why are all the Russian nuclear silos still active in this movie? Like, you can just find the codes and just hop right in, and these things are fully ready to go.
Yeah.
You just got to put the power on, and woo, here we go. Sounds
like you guys are coming around that this wasn't a very good movie.
No, I was already like, I just thought Anthony Mackie was fun. I was happy to be in his company for 2 hours.
I think the plot sucked, and now that we're talking about it now, I'm starting to really realize the plot was bad, but it didn't. I don't know. I didn't go into this movie expecting a bulletproof plot. I enjoyed the action scenes. Ben, I like looking at Anthony Mackie, so I think that was what made me enjoy it.
Were there good action scenes in this movie? The two that I can remember is when they go with the lady to find the arms dealer, and he does a couple cool things, but then the guy escapes for 2 seconds only to get caught again for no reason. And then at the end when he finds the bad guy, that was kind of cool. He kills a bunch of people. I like the one scene where there's the lady soldier pointing like an AK at him or whatever, and he spins it around in her hands and shoots her with it. That was like the one cool thing in this movie for me.
I liked the end fight. It wasn't really it wasn't even a fight. It was like when he was going through the silo trying to find him. I felt some little nerve-wracking moments there. I enjoyed that part too. But yeah, the best one, I think, Jeremy, you're right, when he does encounter Vic Koval at the end and he beats the fuck out of all of them. That was definitely the best scene.
Yeah, that was the best action scene. And I think the only part of this movie why it wasn't the worst movie ever is the final decision when in all action movies, like if it's to save the world, I always know like, oh, okay, well, no one's going to die here. I genuinely thought Harp was going to be okay with I thought his character was going to go back to the beginning and be like, well, no, he's right. And I thought they were going to send the nuclear weapon and just end it like that and kind of be some moral story of like, hey, this is what the future holds if we keep like progressing. But instead they saved the day. But so I guess they tricked me in the end. This one got me. This shitty movie made me think they were going to kill millions of people.
The movie literally ends with that one officer going like, good job, Harp. You saved the world. Roll credits.
He goes, you saved the world. Yeah.
And
Yep.
I'm pretty sure, I didn't do very well in physics, but I'm pretty sure if you shot a rocket at an active nuke that was about to get launched,
he would have been dead.
And Harp was, maybe 100 yards away from the explosion. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he would have died.
He had like 10 seconds to get out of there. And then he's driving.
I don't know how they're like in the movie, they're just like, if we shoot one of our missiles at the warhead, will it explode? And the guy's just like, no, it will not. And I'm like, okay. I'm pretty sure it would. I don't think you can shoot at a fucking nuclear warhead.
Yeah.
And then I think their explanation was like, if we shoot at the control center, it'll just stop it from going. But they show it going directly at the nuclear weapon.
Couldn't have been more of a direct shot at the nuclear missile. Outside of the story, like, I also just thought the editing in this movie was bad. They kept doing like they kept cutting to like reverse angles where the continuity was way off, and they would only hold it for like a quarter of a second and then go back. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Everything sucks about this movie.
I didn't watch it closely enough to even comment on that. It didn't seem like a easy movie to like follow even the action scenes, which should be your number one goal in an action movie. Just make it easy to watch those parts.
Yeah, I was drunk when I watched it too, so that could be why I also liked it the most. But
yeah, that might be the only way to watch it, honestly. But I don't know. I think I've pretty much exhausted my list of complaints here. Do you guys have any other final thoughts?
No, I think I'm good. I think I got my points across.
Bob, did we Jeremy swayed me more over to be like, yeah, this movie sucks, and I think I would say don't watch it now. Bob, have you changed your view at all?
Jeremy might have swayed me from like the 6.5 I had it rated at to like a 5.5, which makes this almost better. Mulan might be better than this.
I think, yeah, I don't know. I really hated Mulan, so maybe I think this might have been better than Mulan just by a tiny bit.
This is definitely worse than the original Mulan, I can tell you that much. But yeah, I think that'll do it for this week. Next week we got a pretty exciting episode. We're going to do a double feature on two of the greatest bug animated movies to come out in 1998. That's Ants and A Bug's Life.
Yeah, that was a big year for animated bug movies.
Very excited for that one. I cannot wait, actually. Two of my favorite bug movies ever. Right up there with B-Movie and B-Movie 2.
Yeah, that other one.
The one we all know and love, we don't even need to say it.
We love it so much, there's no point to bring it up.
Everyone knows which movie that is. Besides B-Movie and A Bug's Life and Ants, it's that other one that everyone knows.
The most famous movie about bugs ever made.
But until then, we thank you for listening this week. And remember, cheaters never win and winners never cheat. We'll see you next week.